So, dude, what are you gonna do about this room? It's kind of, I don't know, bruh. You not gonna clean this room up?
I will one day.
Huh?
I will one day.
You will one day. But
I'm on level 5 right now.
level 5.
Yes.
What's the highest level you got to so far?
I actually beat all the levels.
You already beat all the levels?
Yeah.
No way. Well, let's go ride the bike.
Because
Let's go ride the bike. Okay, let's go ride.
I tried.
Put your shoes on so we can go. Can you get it? Whoa! Mike is whooping him before he even gets out of the corner. Voila! Is learning to ride his bike without training wheels. So, Brev, you gonna show him how to ride it without your training wheels? Check this out. This is pretty cool. Okay, so which way we going? Going down that way? All right. Do I need to help you get started?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So he's just starting to ride the bike by himself. Right before we went to ICAST, you learned out here in the dark, right? You went like 15, 20 feet, but now he's riding this thing like a mile. Can you get started on your own? You want me to help you?
Help you.
Okay. So I'm gonna help you get started. You ready? All right. Here we go. Here we go. All right. And we're off. Go, 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 Brev, go, 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 Brev, go, go. Yes, yes, you're doing it. Yes, yes. Look at those wheels go. Pedaling, pedaling, pedaling. Yes, he's riding. No training wheels. No training wheels for the first time. And he wins. Yes. Okay, so 2 things. I'm out of breath. Number 3, yes, I am sweating. Wait a minute, that was 2 things and I was already on number 3. Hey, bro, come back. He actually got so mad at some point, got so frustrated that he kind of started crying a little bit. And then it wasn't within like 10 or 15 minutes, he was already starting to kind of go like 20 or 30 foot without training wheels. You know my saying, adversity is dope. So it was so cool to watch him like kind of overcome that literally in less than an hour. From training wheels to I can't do it, I'm crying, to oh my God, I'm riding 30 feet. Then we skip a week. He doesn't even get to ride a bike because daddy's got to go out of town to go to work. We come back and he takes off and like he goes like all the way down our road here. So adversity is dope. It's dope. It's dope. Hey, so just got my new box in from Mystery Tackle Box. As you can see here, here's something that's new that's coming from Mystery Tackle Box. I think you guys definitely want to know about. I think it's pretty cool. They are launching a brand new e-commerce site. So all that tackle that you guys have been getting in your subscription boxes for the last 3, 4, 5 years, for you guys that just started going on, check the link in my description box. Use the code BLAT. You guys can get 10 bucks off your entire purchase. But Mystery Tackle Box is launching something totally new. It's called Karls Bait and Tackle. So everything you've been getting in your box now, when you decide you get a little plastic in your subscription box, you get a crankbait that you really like, now you'll be able to go back and get another one, or you'll be able to get a different color, or you'll be able to get 15 of whatever you found in your subscription box. You'll be able to kind of stack up on those baits. So go to Shop Karls. I'll leave a link in my description box. This is a totally new thing that's coming out. And here's one exciting thing about it. If you'll sign up right now, they're doing a $500 sweepstakes. So they'll randomly pick one person and you get to go on a $500 shopping spree on shopkarls.com. 500. You can do a lot with 500. I mean, for 500, I can load my entire boat up. All right, so we got that coming down the pipe. Also, here's all the perks for when you join shopkarls.com, when you become a part of the Karls Bait and Tackle family. Here's all the benefits. Okay, it's a club, so it works sort of like a club. You pay $99 to be a member of the Karls Bait and Tackle Club. Then you get 30% off every single purchase that you make. Sometimes it's more than that. 30% off. So you'll be able to get a lot of tackle way cheaper than you guys can buy it in the store. That's the purpose in joining Karls Bait and Tackle. So make sure you check out the link in the description box. I think they're giving away some free stuff for joining right now. But the biggest thing is, don't forget, everybody that signs up right now will have a chance to get a $500 shopping spree at Karls Bait and Tackle. It's a pretty cool deal. Make sure you check out the link in my description box. I'm going to leave all the information that you need to know about Karls Bait and Tackle on my description box. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get to talking about what we actually need to talk about. We want to talk about hook sets today. Hook sets, hook sets, hook sets. I really love hook sets. That's my favorite thing to do. If you're not setting a hook, are you even really fishing? So today we're going to talk a little bit about hook sets and how you need to be setting the hook sets. The difference in hook sets between a spinning rod and a bait caster. The difference between setting the hook on a fish on a frog and setting the hook on a fish that you flip. There's all different type of hook sets, and you really need to pay attention to what you're doing if you want to continue getting fish in the boat. So we'll look on the deck of my boat right here, right now. It's something that I like to talk about a lot. I really study hook sets. Of course, you guys know that I take a lot of people out fishing through my angler development trips. So one of the things that I notice a lot of people need a lot of work on is hook sets. And there's times when you're setting the hook that you really need to come back and crack him. And then there's other times where all of this slack line and cracking him, you're not really doing anything to help yourself. And I'm going to try to help you understand when you need to crack him and when you just need to reel and pull. And it has a lot to do with your line choice, it has a lot to do with your rod choice, it has a lot to do with how the fish bites your bait. There's a lot of factors involved in how you hook set. There's not one hook set that works for every bait, every rod, every reel, and every fish, even on the same bait. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. You guys almost always, you pretty much label me as a finesse fisherman, which is kind of not the truth. Just being where I live, I fish a lot of finesse baits. You see me with the spinning rod a lot of the times. This is my spinning setup, 7-foot medium jackhammer from Favorite Fishing, my Revo MGX or STX. I'm almost always using 10 or 15 pound test smackdown braid tied to almost always a finesse fluorocarbon leader or Grand Max 8.4 pound test. That's what I use all the time. And you'll notice, doesn't matter if you're talking about a shaky head, it doesn't matter when I got the spinning rod in my hand, if I'm throwing my big TRD, the fatties, the drop shot, the Ned rig, you'll notice my hook set, my spinning rod is a little different than what you're probably used to seeing. Most of the time when I'm setting the hook with my spinning rod, it's just like a reel down, a reel, and then just like a gentle pull. There's a reason for that. What I do is I use a soft spinning rod. For the way that I fish, the way that I use my drop shot, a soft spinning rod does everything I need to do. This is a medium action, pretty doggone forgiving. And what I like to do, just the way that Brian Latimer likes to do it, I come close to locking my drag down. I don't lock it down, but I keep it pretty tight. And what I do is I let that rod absorb most of the impact when I go to set the hook. Drags locked down, reel down on him, and I just pull and reel all at the same time. If I got a drop shot, the hook's already exposed. So any kind of movement that I put on that bait is going to prick that fish. You know, I got the best hook that I can use. I got an owner mosquito hook. It's going to prick him. That's a light wire hook. It's very small. Once it pricks him, it's not going to get off. Second variable in why I don't have to really get back and yank on him is I'm using braid. Every little movement that I put on my bait, there's no stretch in braid. Every little piece of movement I put on that bait, that is going to move the bait. So any kind of rod sweep movement, it's going to pull it, put motion on it, and prick that fish. I'm also using fluorocarbon. That's less stretch as well. So when I'm using 6, 7, 8 pound test line, that means there's no stretch. Something's got to give if I'm using a light line, so I use my rod. I don't like doing it with my drag because a lot of times I use a stiffer rod. I got to have a lighter drag, so when I go to set the hook, it's hard to get to gauge whether the drag is right or not. The drag can be inconsistent, but one thing is going to be consistent every time is the bend and softness of my rod. So I rely on my rod to take the impact. I don't do a whole lot of hook setting, and I'm going to prick him. I lose very few fish on my spinning rod. I'm just going to be flat out honest. I lose one every now and then, and I probably showed it to you on some of my videos. So when you're using your spinning equipment, don't do all of that. You ain't got to jerk. You don't have to do all this over the head. If you'll just reel down on him, keep the line tight, pull, 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 and drag. That's how you're going to set the hook with that. I've got a frog tied on this rod. A frog. I got a 7'2" medium heavy action. You would think I'd have a heavy action, right? In some situations, I probably would use a medium heavy action. For what I'm using this frog for right here, that I just fished a couple days ago, medium heavy, 7'2", and I've got 50-pound test braid on again. I got a little bit faster reel. Something that I failed to mention on your hook sets. You know, I said nowadays you almost have to re-engineer your hook set nowadays to the rod and the reels that we're using. Listen, our rods and reels are lighter than they've ever been, yet they still carry the same rigidity, maybe even more rigidity and more power than the rods of yesteryear used to have. Our reels are much faster. So when I reel down on them, I almost didn't even have to put much rod motion behind it. You know, I'm using on this particular frog rod right here, a 7:3:1 gear ratio reel. But we have 8:01 gear ratio reels. Abu Garcia just came out with a 10:1:1 gear ratio reel. No hook set required when you got a reel that fast. But let's talk about setting the hook with a bait caster, and in particular with braid. When I'm using braid and like a frog, listen, this whole setup right here, not much given. 50-pound test Seaguar Smackdown braid. I got a fast, high-speed reel, and I got a pretty doggone good meat stick to bring him up out of there. So I'm going to pay attention when a fish bites this frog. And this sounds really silly, like you don't have time to think about it, but the more the fish, the more you're going to notice about the way a fish bites your bait. If I have a fish that's coming at me when he comes to bite my frog, and I can tell that he's biting and he's pushing towards the bait, same with my Texas rig when I'm flipping in the bush. If I feel him coming towards me, slackline him. I got to get hook penetration, because if I try to reel down and pull on that fish, it's not going to come out good for either one of us. So if I know that the fish is biting the bait and moving towards me, pushing the bait towards me, I got to reel down on him, and I got to pop. I got to get hook set on him that way. That's about one of the only times that I think is a good idea to slack line a fish. Slacken your reel and come back and crack him. All right. Number one, frog, top order bait in general, and he's coming towards you, use it. If I'm flipping in a bush and I flip in the bush and immediately he's hit it and he's running towards the boat, slack line him, pop him. You got to get hook penetration. Now, I know you're saying in a split second, I got to come up with whether I got a slack line or if I got to reel down on him. Yes, you do. And you'll get a feel for that the more you fish, the more bites you get. Instantly, it's like your body just reacts and does the right thing. Now, on the flip side, how I'm going to set the hook on my bait caster is always going to depend on my rod action and what type of line. You see on my frog here, I had braided line. I don't have to do a whole lot when I got braid. The only time I'm going to slack line him is when he's coming at me. All other hook sets, I'm going to reel down on him and I'm just going to pull. Because with that reel being so fast, I can pick up a lot of line and do a lot of my damage there. But I'm still going to put a pretty good oomph on the hook set when I set it. When I switch to fluorocarbon, you know, and thinking about the hook size and the lead and where the fish is at, you know, I'm probably going to just do the same. I'm just going to reel down on him and I'm just going to pull on him pretty good. A really stout pull, not a little wimpy pull like I do on my spinning rod, but I'm going to do just as much with my reel and a sweep of the rod tip as I am just popping him. I would rather just set down, because what this is going to avoid, you know, I'm using fluorocarbon probably 80% of the time, has a lot less stretch, so I'm going to get some penetration there. Number two, I've got a rod that's pretty doggone stiff when I'm using 15, 17, 20-pound test line. So that gives me the liberty to go ahead and put a pretty good stank on it. The biggest thing that you have to remember when you're setting the hook on a fish is watch which way he's going. Instantly, which way is he going with the bait? Number two, is keep in mind your rod action and the line. Those to me are the two most important things. Do I have fluorocarbon, mono, or braid? And do I have, what is the action of my rod? That's pretty much what I'm always going to do. I'm going to always be aware of how much line I got out. And if I need to take up line with my reel first, I'm going to do that and really just sweeping the reel into him. When you're using a Texas rig, when you're flipping, if you need to flip and turn that fish a little bit quicker, hit him, bring him out of there. That means you're going to need to use a little bit stiffer rod, a little bit bigger line, a little bit faster reel. That'll help you. Now, let's talk about reaction baits like crankbaits, rattle traps, top waters, baits like that. Totally different hook set for those kind of baits. You know, when I'm talking about a crankbait or a swim bait or something like that, probably going to be using fluorocarbon, and I'm going to use a reel set to set the hook on, especially if you're talking about a treble hook bait. If I feel a fish bite a treble hook bait, I'm throwing a crankbait just going down the rip wrap and I feel him, I'm not going to drop the rod tip and then whack on him. That's not how I'm going to set the hook. If I see a fish, if I'm fishing down the rip wrap, I'm throwing out MR6 or a rattle trap or any bait like that. When I'm going down that bank and I feel him hit him, I'm just going to pull, just a gentle pull. You feel him, and then just got him. It doesn't take a lot. Your hooks are already exposed. You're using fluorocarbon. There's not much stretch. I'm going to let that bait get that bait, take it in, and all I'm going to do is just finish the process by reeling that thing, keeping it tight, keeping some pressure on there so when he shakes that I don't lose him. That's all it takes when you're using a treble hook bait, crankbaits, jerk baits, swim baits, top waters. That's all you have to do. It doesn't take a lot to get hook penetration there. You're just going to keep that line tight with your reel and let the hooks do the work. So that's a little bit about how I process hook sets. I know that sounds like a lot when you're thinking about when I get a fish on and he bites, all I'm going to do is jerk. I promise you, if you train yourself, you'll get used to every once in a while you can tell, okay, that fish is coming to me, and in an instant you'll be able to know whether you need to slack line him or reel set on him. Just take some time, practice. Always be aware of what type of line you have, the action of your rod, if it's a bait caster or spinning. If you pay attention to those couple things, you're going to land a lot more fish and you're going to have a lot less break-offs. You'll be a lot happier person when you pay attention to the details of setting your hook.